Welcome back. I don't know if you noticed, but the audio probably sounds so crisp right now because I got a mic and now I can do ASMR. If you have the chills, let me know. No, just kidding. No, but I did get a mic, so hopefully that will kind of improve the sound quality. We're just making big advancements over here, you know? Thank you. Thank you. For today, I am giving out a free pattern for a hippo. What? Yeah, so this is my first pattern that I'm giving out for free. I have 3 patterns on Etsy. Check it out, Graphic Design Co. But those ones you have to pay for, so I figured to kind of give a thanks to like all the positive feedback I've gotten on YouTube so far. I think I'm at like 220 subscribers, so thanks. But yeah, I've been having a lot of fun doing it, so I figured why not do something for the people. Do it for the people. Just get right started into the pattern tutorial. Sorry if the pattern tutorial is a little chaotic. I'm not the pattern type of gal to be doing that. Like, I'm gonna get distracted. I'm gonna start talking about other things. I can't help it. Just a little disclaimer, if you do use my pattern, just tag me, Graphic Design Co. on Instagram and YouTube and TikTok and basically everything. So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so for this pattern, we're gonna use Sweet Snuggles Light. This is a 6 weight yarn, so it's super bulky. And then we have some scissors to cut our yarn, a 5.5 millimeter hook. We need a sewing needle, and then I use 13 millimeter eyes, but you can go from anywhere from 10 to up to 16 using the 6 weight yarn. And then just a stitch marker just to keep track, because if you have ADHD and can't focus, then I recommend these. And if you also lose a bunch of stuff, I recommend getting a bulk amount, because I'll be crocheting on the couch and I have the stitch marker and then I put it down for 2 seconds and it disappears. So that's why we got 100 of them. All right, so let's get started. So for this amigurumi project, we're actually gonna start with chaining. So we're gonna do a slip knot, so then we can get our chain started. And we are going to do 6 chains. Six, okay. And then we're just gonna go from second chain from the hook. We're gonna go in single crochet 1, and then we're gonna keep working our way down for 3 more. So 2, 3, 4, and you should be left with 1 more chain to go into, and we're gonna go into this 3 times into the same one. So you're gonna go in once, single crochet, and then we're gonna go into that same hole. That's your second crochet, and then 1 more. Third crochet, and that's going to start like wrapping us around to the back side of the chain. And then you should have 4 little bumps. I like to call them like 1, 2, 3, 4. I know it's kind of hard to see, but honestly, just find a loop and go through it. Like, who cares if it's wrong? So we're gonna do single crochet 4 times through the back loops of the chain. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, so we should have 12 around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then there's 12 in there. And so we're gonna just do single crochet around 12 times. So I like to start out with doing 1 and then putting my stitch marker. I know some people do it at like the end of rounds, but I like to do it before. So that's 1, and then we're just gonna keep single crocheting. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, 11, and 12. So that's our first round of 12. And we want to start to flip this inside out because this is the side that is actually going to be showing for our plushie. And we're going to do that same thing 2 more times. So you'll have a total of 12 stitches, but 2 times, so 24. So that's my first stitch. Put on my marker. I know this is probably not the best way to do your stitch markers, but it's how I learned and I'm sticking with it. So I have my 3 rounds done. So you can see that this is like the starting chain, and then you have 1, 2, 3, and this is kind of creating that nose, so it should be facing this way. So now we're going to start with increasing. So we're going to do 1 single crochet and an increase. So we go into the first one, put our marker, and then so that was 1 single crochet. Now we're going to increase by putting 1, 2 into the same stitch, and then just keep repeating that process of 1 single crochet, increase, 1 single crochet, increase, and so on until you get to the end of your stitch marker. Alright, so now we are starting to extend the head a little bit, and we're gonna now do 2 single crochets and 1 increase for the next round. So 1, 2, and increase, 1, 2, increase. So now you can kind of see more of the face starting to form and with his little snout. So we are gonna now add the ears. So we'll do 4 single crochet. So 1, put our marker in, 2, 3, and 4. And then we're gonna chain 2. So 1, 2, and then we're going to go into from the second chain from the hook, we're going to go into it, grab a loop, and then pull through, so a slip stitch. I like to like manually move the hook or the loop over. I just feel like I get better control and then it doesn't like flick off my hook, but it's up to you. So then for the next one, we're going to go in and we're going to do another slip stitch, but we're only going to go into this front loop. So there's the back loop and here's the front loop. Go into that front loop, pull up a loop, and then slip stitch. And if you have a hard time determining where that back loop is, because we will be using it, we can use another stitch marker if you have one. I prefer using it in a different color just so I can keep track of where my first is starting. And we'll just put it right into that back loop. Just makes it a little bit easier to find instead of you just like trying to find it through trial and error of grabbing different hooks or grabbing different loops. So after we've attached the ear to the body, we're gonna now just single crochet 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then we're gonna repeat the same process as we did for this here. So we're gonna chain 2, so 1, 2, and then from second chain from the hook, we're just gonna insert our hook in there, pull up a loop, and then slip stitch. And then same thing for this one, so I'll kind of show you how to mark it beforehand. So oh, that's the same color. So we'll just go into this back loop to mark it of, we will be using that for the next round. And so now we can grab that front loop, slip stitch, and then we have attached the ear. And then from here on out, we're just gonna single crochet. So it should be 10 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Alright, so we're starting to form the face a little bit more, and you can see where the ears are. I don't like to stick the eyes in until a little bit later because for me, I personally need to see it slightly stuffed to get my eye placement down. So, I mean, if you want to place the eyes now, you can, but I recommend waiting. Okay, so now we are gonna do 2 single crochet and a decrease. So we're gonna grab stitch marker out 1, 2, and then decrease. So decreasing, I do invisible decreases by just grabbing the front loops of the next 2 stitches, pulling them together, and then pulling through. So essentially you're making 2 stitches into 1. And then we need to do 2 single crochet, but we want to go behind the ear. So that's why it was nice to make this mark for what loop we have to go through. So I just have to like keep my eye on that loop, and then I do 1 single crochet, and I like to pull that one tight just so there's no gap. And then this next one is a little tricky because you kind of have to maneuver your hook up, but it's a 2. And then we need to do a decrease. And then we're just going to do that same process for the rest of the head. Alright, so that's gonna like start to create the head from the neck. So you can kind of see how it's starting to taper in. So now we're just gonna do a single crochet around 1 time. And at this point, you don't have to go behind the ears anymore, and you're just going into both loops. Okay, so now we're gonna do 2 single crochets and an increase, so get ourselves back up to 24 stitches. So for round 11, we're just going to be doing 3 single crochets and an increase. So now we're gonna start doing the front legs, and we're gonna do a single crochet 23, a bobble stitch, and single crochet 7. So let me first single crochet the 23. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23. Okay, and now we're gonna do a bobble stitch. So we're gonna yarn over or yarn under, whatever one you're doing, go into the stitch, pull up a loop, and then pull through only 2 of the 3. And then we're gonna do that same thing. So yarn over or yarn under, go through that same stitch that we've been working on this whole time, pull up another loop, and only go through 2 out of the 4. So you're only going through 2 at a time. And then yarn under, pull up a loop, 1, 2 loops through the hook, and now we should have 4 on our hook. And we're going to do this one more time, so then we have 5 loops on our hook. So go through, and then pull through 1, pull through 2, and now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to now just grab another loop and pull all the way through all 5 of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now they're all in one single stitch. And then we want to secure this by single crocheting into the next stitch, which can get kind of squished, like so. Kind of will look like this sometimes. So really like pull apart your yarn so you can see it. And we're going to single crochet into this. And then in order to get the bobble to like actually stick out, you have to push through with your finger, and you'll see the space. And that's why we really want to tighten this, to keep that from being able to like push through with your finger. So that's 1 single crochet afterwards. And then we're just going to finish up by crocheting to the rest of, or to the end of our stitch marker. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so we have 1 foot done. So this is obviously the belly of your hippo. And so now we gotta make the other paw, or leg, paw, question mark. So we're gonna start out by, so we'll remove our stitch marker, and this first stitch is going to be a bobble. So you're gonna go and have 5 loops on your hook, pull through, making 1 stitch. And so I'll kind of show you, because it might be confusing starting off with a bobble. So same idea, go into the hoop, or the loop, pull up, pull through 2, grab another loop, pull through 2. So now we have 4, and we need to do 1 more to get to 5. Pull through, and then we're going to pull through all 5 of these. And this is going to create 1 stitch. So you can see that you have like 5 like little loops on there, but it's only on 1 actual V. So that's the V that we're going to stick our stitch marker into, because that's going to start our round. And then we're going to do a single crochet the rest of the way around. So it's going to be 29 single crochet. Same idea here, push through that bobble stitch, get this one nice and tight, and then just continue going. So now when you're going, so as you're continuing to single crochet, you're going to have to crochet over the bobble stitch. So make sure that you're only crocheting where you see the V's. So even though we did like 5 loops, it should only amount to 1 stitch. So You can see that also like the bobble stitch is a little bit more stretched than the other ones, but just make sure you're going through only one of them. So that's one of the V's, and then I check, there's one more, and there's the last one right here. So I'm not adding any other stitches by doing the bobble stitch, it's just making it a little puff ball for its leg. Now that we have our head shaped and we're starting to make the body, we are just going to do 6 rounds of single crochet. So just going around 30 stitches 6 times, and then we'll start doing the back legs. So same thing here, make sure that you're not adding any extra stitches. So that's our first one. And then there's our second one. Okay, so now that we have our 6 rows done, we're starting to really form the hippo. So we got to do the back legs now. So we're going to do single crochet 24. Mm-hmm. 21, 22, 23, 24, and now we're going to do our bobble stitch. Pull through all 5 loops, and then we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So then that will end round number 20. So then we're going to do round 21, starting with a single crochet. Putting our stitch marker in. Get the hair out of there, disgusting. And then we're gonna do a bobble stitch. So for this back round, we're not doing a bobble stitch on the first one. So make sure you add that first stitch. And then just bobble. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, pull through, and then we're just gonna single crochet 28 around. So 1, 2, Alright, so now we've officially finished the paws. I don't know why I keep calling them paws, because they're legs. Like, I don't think a hippo has paws. So now what I like to do is stuff the head so we can start placing the eyes. So for this, because we really want the snout to be like pronounced, to give that hippo-like look, I like to put the stuffing in and almost like pinch it, so then we can try to get that like square or that rectangle shaped nose. So then we can kind of use it to shape the way we want it. And this is where I only have stuffed the nose so far, so I could still get safety eyes in there. And I kind of just take a look at like the overall shape of the hippo, and figure out placement. So I like to do the placement. So this is your round 1. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I like to do between 4 and 5. And I like to line it up with the ears, like at the base. So the eyes are getting placed between the first increase and the second increase that we did during the head. And I placed them about 1, 2, 3, about 7 stitches apart. But honestly, like, I feel like this part is pretty personal of how you want it. I line it up with the ears, trying to make sure that they're both centered and that they don't look too like wonky. So I'm gonna just put my backs in. And I think it's also like very helpful when placing eyes, because they can be really a pain, is to do like somewhat of a stuffing, like stuff a portion of it, just so you can kind of see what it's gonna look like, because when you see it two-dimensional or like just flat, it's really hard to picture like how it's actually gonna end up, rather than when you can stuff it, you're gonna be like, okay, this is how it's supposed to look, and where should the ears, or where should the eyes go? So for this next round, for round 22, we're gonna do 3 single crochets and a decrease all the way around. So 1, put our stitch marker in, 2, 3, and then we got a decrease, so you're gonna grab the, if I can grab it, the front loop and the front loop of the next 2 stitches, pull them together and pull through, and I'm just going to keep doing that all the way around. Alright, so I just finished that, and I'm going to start stuffing the body. I'm just going to pull this out a little bit so then I don't lose it. And then just start filling it out so it's pretty firm. So for the purpose of the head, like, you really want to make sure that you're not squishing this forward, because you really want to keep that like elongated snout. So just keep in mind, I mean, you can kind of reshape it once it's fully stuffed, but have it something looking like that. I feel like that's very hippo-y, so, and then just start to stuff the body. I like to kind of like pull apart a little bit and stuff the sides first, so you can make it like super rotund and get the most out of your stuffing. So like we're already starting to get a good shape there, and then I'm just gonna keep filling it, and I don't like to overstuff it at this point because I need to still crochet in the stitches, so I don't want any of the polyfill to get wrapped around. So I'm gonna stop there, and I'm gonna start working on round 23, which is 2 single crochets and a decrease. Also, sorry that the lighting has changed drastically. Like, I'm fighting against the sun right now. And obviously I cannot crochet that fast. And it was my fault for starting this late, but I'm already committed. So do what you will with that information. And if I can get this, I struggle so much with these decreases. Like, if you struggle and you're starting out, listen. I started crocheting and I quit like right away. I got a kit at what's it called? At Michael's. Tried it once, threw it out. Literally threw it out because I was like, this is too hard, I don't understand this, blah blah blah. And now look at me trying to make patterns that are, I would say, decent. Like, they're not, I don't think they're horrendous. And yeah, so yeah, you kind of start anywhere and everywhere, and I still struggle with certain things. Like, magic circles, I'm constantly breaking the yarn on that. Like, trust me, it's just always going to be difficult. So, all right, and then we're just going to add some more stuffing. I have this. I bought a 20-pound bag of polyfill. So I really got to go through this. So I'm glad that I've been making a lot of hippos to kind of advertise this pattern, and to also pattern test to make sure that it's readable and makes sense. But I have not made like the biggest dent in it, and I'm actually surprised with all the plushies I've already made with them. So, all right, so now we're just starting to come to the end. So we are going to do 1 single crochet and a decrease all the way around. All right, so this is like kind of so this is where I do like now like the filling the rest of the stuffing up as much as I can possibly, because the hole gets so small. So we're gonna really start stuffing our hippo butt. That probably sounds bad, but it's so funny because these pattern videos that I always watch, like, I try to get my patterns free as much as possible, and that's just because I'm trying to save my money in certain senses. But when I watch these pattern videos on YouTube, they're all like so like respectful and like not being creepy. Ow. So I'm sorry if this was a tutorial that you weren't expecting. All right, so now we're just gonna do decreases all the way around. So it should be 6 decreases. And so grab your hippo body, and that's your 1 decrease. And then just keep doing that. All right, so we've officially finished the whole hippo body. So we are just gonna now cut you can take your stitch marker out at this point, and we are just gonna cut a tail so we can sew. So I would give yourself like a decent amount. I'd rather do more than less. Like, this is way too much, but you know, you gotta give and take. So then we're just gonna put it on our sewing needle, and we're gonna finish this off. So actually, before I finish this off, I can feel that this isn't like stuffed enough. So I'm just gonna start taking like little pieces of polyfill and like forcing it in. I just don't want, because the less stuffed it is, the more easy it is to deform. At least that's what I've found. So I try to keep them pretty firm. Obviously not something that could like knock you out. I mean, I guess if you threw it hard enough, but all right, so that seems a little bit better, a little bit more firm. So we'll take this giant piece of polyfill and move it out of the way. And now we will get started to sewing, or finishing this off. So in order to do that, we have 6 stitches now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we're gonna just go into these front loops, which are the loops closest to you. And we're gonna go in through the first one, pull through, into the second loop, pull through, and keep doing that until you get to 6. So 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we are going to pull this so then this tightens. I like to kind of keep my finger on this while so as I'm pulling, I'm also pushing. I find that that's easier and is less likely for the yarn to like rip off, because sometimes you pull really tight and it just catapults. So now you have your hole fastened off. And what I like to do is I like go around the same hole just to make sure it's like super secure. So I'll like pull through, not with any tension or anything like that, and just kind of keep overlapping it. And I don't know, you don't have to do that. This is a personal preference, but I just feel like it makes me feel like it's fully secure and there's no way of it opening again. And then I'm just gonna thread this through the rest of the body just to get rid of it. And I like to go through, so I'll pull it through and then go through the same hole that you just went through and pull it into a different spot. And make sure you're not like yanking it to cause any tension. And then pull through across. And you're essentially just weaving this in. And then I'll just take the end of my sewing needle and just kind of shove her into the back, you know what I'm saying? If I can do it. Okay, there we go. Perfect. And now you wouldn't even know that this had a tail, but it needs a tail. Speaking of tails. So, to do the tail, we are going to grab the same color yarn, and we are going to place it. So once again, personal preference of where you place the tail, but I like to kind of imagine, so if the body's laying down, like where I would imagine the tail to be. And I feel like, so there's no estimation. I mean, I could try 24th to 25th round, I guess. But I kind of like the look of this area. And then I'll just pull through, or put my hook through 2 slots. And I also just kind of double check to make sure that's centered with like the nose and everything, which is good enough for me. And we're just gonna grab our tail, our yarn tail, and then pull it through. And then we are going to now grab the tail that's connected to our skein of yarn, and we're going to yarn through. So that's creating like a slip stitch. And then we are just gonna chain 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then starting from the second chain from the hook, we're just gonna slip stitch the whole way back. Okay, this part I'm like feel bad about because you're like holding the hippo by the tail and it feels cruel, but you gotta do what you gotta do. Okay, and then that slip stitch that we had made, you're not going to go through, so you should only go through 4 stitches on the chain. So then we're gonna cut this, pull the rest of that yarn through, and then we're gonna tighten this. So I want to basically tie a knot between these two. So I'm gonna find where this hole is. So I see the yarn's coming out of here. And then grab this extra tail from the finished tail. And then pull that through. So then you're able to fully secure this by just tying a knot. Like that. And then I'll pull through, so I'll find like on the side of the body and then go through this hole to grab these these little tails. So I'll go through the body to like just grab the tails so I can bring those through. Just to kind of add some extra security. All right. And then just get the rest of these fuzzies off. And this is the final hippo. So